guys, and I have a tutorial for you that I've been meaning to make for a while. I've been using this program for a while. A lot of people have, and many streamers, but I'm going to be focusing on recording today for the program OBS, Open Broadcasting Software. So yeah, this is a pretty old program, but they have released actually it was probably a while ago, I don't even know when they released it, but OBS Studio, which is a lot better than OBS Classic, because in my opinion, in my circumstance, it has run way better than the original. The original used to crash on me all the time, but this one is smooth sailing. So I have a tutorial. This is mainly a tutorial for people who have either a lower end computer, and I am also doing a section if you have a pretty high-end computer. And the specs for my computer will be right on the screen, so this is what I'm going to be using. But I used to have a GTX 750 and an i7 5700K or something like that. I'll put it all on the screen. I don't even remember what I had, but I'm going to be showing you what I used to use and what now I use. What I used before was a little bit lower end, and I used to use OBS Classic, but I did end up switching while I still had my old computer. So I'm going to show you what I was using right now. So if you don't know how to navigate it, I'll show you here. Scenes, so you add a scene here to, so if you click add, then you can type whatever. Okay, you can add a scene. So you can add an audio channels. You can add just a regular display capture, which I'm using now. And a game capture will just record a game. You can add images. The image is mainly for when you're streaming and pretty much like that, unless you want to take a break during your recording video if you're, I don't know, doing a gameplay of zombies. I don't know. That's what the only thing I would think you use it for. You can switch to another scene. A window captures a specific window. So, okay, let's add a quick scene here. Let's do a game capture. I have Rainbow Six Siege open right now. It's a pretty graphics intensive game, so I'm going to show you how it will look in the final stages. There's a wide variety of specs for each computer, so try to bear with me and just find the right specs for you. So if you do, then you go to Window, and then you just find the game that you're running, and there it is. So here's the actual game. Okay, so let's jump right into the settings that I'm going to be using. I'm going to do a full benchmark recording, and I'll put it up on screen soon. But I just want to bump the settings out, what settings I use, and what settings that if you have a lower end computer you should use. So the first thing I use, remember to use advanced output mode. Simple doesn't provide what you're needing. So use advanced because it will give you a little bit more options in the long run. So first thing you need to use, always, do not use X264, which uses a little bit more of your CPU power, I found. But I use the NVIDIA encoder, which you might have an AMD graphics card, so you won't get that option. But I found that I used to have an AMD graphics card, and it ran a little bit better on 264. So X264, I found that it does not run as good on NVIDIA graphics card, so I just use their encoder. But what I did find is that when you have an AMD graphics card, it runs a lot smoother on X264, and that's probably dealing most with the CPU. But I just found that when you have an NVIDIA graphics card, use the provided encoder that it comes with that allows you to do on this. So I recommend just using the NVIDIA encoder. So what a bitrate is, it's kind of like how smoothly your recording will look, and I keep it around 50,000. I know that's not possible for certain people, but if you have a little bit lower end computer, what I used before, I had a GTX 750, I used 3500. That worked well for me for a while, and it looked pretty good. If you go check back on my old videos, you'll be able to see what they look like. I'll probably put a link on what video I use for OBS, and then you can judge on the recording. But I think 50,000 is the perfect number. I've seen many people use 50,000, so I recommend using 50,000. And then all these other presets you don't really need to worry about. I personally just left them the same. Oh, also use CBR. Definitely use CBR because you want to be at a constant bit rate. If it's not, it can jump all over the place and be really choppy, I found. So use CBR. I noticed a lot of tutorials have been telling you to change it, but I found in my case that it is the worst decision you could possibly make. Just don't make your videos choppy, make them pretty smooth. Okay, so this is all preference on what you're recording or what you're doing, but I found I use 1080p 60 FPS, but you can turn it down to 30 FPS. But if you want to get a 10 FPS, you could go for that, but I would not recommend 10 FPS for a video. But I use 60 FPS, you can change it to 720p if you want. Also use Lancrazos sharpen detail. It's just the higher end scaling, so it looks a little bit cleaner around the edges, I noticed. If you have a little bit lower end computer, somewhere around what I had, I used bilinear, and it still looked pretty good, but the edges were not as clean, and some of the particle effects when I was in game kind of blurred, so I did not like the way it looked. So I would either put it on bilinear or Lancrazos. I don't know how to say that. I tried out using Bicubit, and I noticed that if you are able to do Bicubit, you're also able to do this one, Lancrazos, whatever. So it's either this one or this one. If you go right in the middle, I'm absolutely sure I've used it before. If you can run Bicubit pretty well, you can also run Lancrazos, whatever, but you can also use that. Okay, so advanced setting. In advanced settings, I would say in OBS Classic, you would change a few things in advanced settings because some of the settings are switched. But in this version of OBS, just keep everything in advanced exactly the same. Everything, you don't need to change at all. But there is some stream settings if you want a stream delay, but I don't really need that, so yeah. Oh, also, I've noticed in most tutorials, they don't really tell how to make the theme dark, but you can find theme in general. Otherwise, you can put it as default, but it's just so blinding. So I just turn it to dark because it looks much, much better. Oh, I forgot. Audio recording. So I just left everything the same in here, and I kept it stereo. If you want mono, it'll keep the levels of your audio the same, but it just sounds kind of tinny and crappy. But I found that stereo sounds a bit deeper. You can really, your voice vibrates your headphones, but it just sounds way better as stereo, so I recommend using stereo. But I don't ever really record off of the OBS. I use Audacity, because Audacity sounds amazing. I'll put the link in the description if you want in the description. This is pretty much it for the high-end to low-end recording on OBS. I do want to note something. I figured this out. I'll do a test recording. So what I noticed, if you use game capture, I noticed there's a lot of drops on my old computer when I was using game capture, but if I just recorded my desktop and put the game in borderless windowed, it run way better. So if you want to try that out, and if it helps you, that's what helped me record, because I barely get the 60 FPS, but if I put it to windowed borderless and then monitor, it ran completely smooth. But I just use game capture because it's easier. But yeah, then you got your audio channels here, your desktop audio. You can change all that, whatever you need. So yeah, that's pretty much the tutorial for you guys. I'm going to show you some benchmarks of me gaming and recording at the same time. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and yeah, thanks for watching.